Okay, we are live. Guten Tag. I am in Deutschland. I've got my Coke and I've got my weird German pig candy that tastes really good. So, the little pigs. Little pigs, really good. Yeah, Germany. Okay. Well, let me finish discussing the rest of my school trip, I guess, and then we can move on to the solo portion in Germany. So last time we did a hang with Mangg, I was having a free day. Pretty much just sat in my hotel room, watched Becker, and I ate McDonald's 3 times that day. It was a pretty good day. I liked that day. It might have been the best day of the trip. Yeah. Well, one of. The next day, we basically had kind of a split on what the groups were doing. Some of the groups were going to see Monet's Gardens, which is like his house where he painted flowers or I have no idea. I did not go. A few of us decided instead to go see the Parisian catacombs, which has always kind of fascinated me ever since I heard about them. And it was like, how can I go to Paris and not see the catacombs? Like that's that's just something that really interests me. And it's something like that I could do a video about. So if there's something in the world that I could actually do a video about, I gotta see it. So we were really concerned because, we had heard that you could be waiting in line for like 3 hours or maybe even more, depending, just to get into the catacombs. And you're not really down there for long. It's not like an all-day thing. You're in the catacombs for like 45 minutes, maybe an hour. So waiting 3 hours to do that is rough, especially during, like the toughest heat wave in a long time, and just standing in the sun for 3 hours is just... I was a little worried. I was honestly a little worried. And if I hadn't taken the off day where I just sat and ate McDonald's 3 times, I don't know if I would have even signed up for it, because it would have just been like, screw that. But I was feeling really good that day, so I was like, whatever comes my way, let's do it, because I want to see the catacombs. So we got we got there. Yeah, I want to say we got there at like 9. We got there around 9. Catacombs opens at 10. So we got there at 9. Not incredibly early, but okay. And there was like 20 people in line. We were very, very fortunate. We actually got 20 people behind, 20 people ahead of us. We got a spot right under a tree, so we were in complete shade. It was very nice. And like right after we got there, the whole thing just got flooded with people. It went like around the block and stuff. It was crazy. So we were very fortunate. I was really happy. Everyone was happy. And so yeah, we only had to wait an hour. And so the catacombs, if you don't know, basically, people often misattribute, I guess, how large the catacombs are, I think, underneath Paris. Basically, there's a lot of tunnels. There are many, 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 many miles of tunnels underneath Paris. of like quarries and stuff like that, mines, things like that. And I think it was like only one 800th of the total area of the space underneath Paris or whatever is actually catacombs or something like that. So all the quarries and stuff, just a very small part of is the catacombs. So the official, I guess there's one official entrance to the catacombs. And it is kind of run by the Parisian government. It's officially labeled as a museum, so you get all the benefits of that, I guess. But you still have to pay for it. You have to pay like €12 to get in, which isn't horrible. And you can get tour guides, but we didn't have one. And you can get those little like audio guides where you just put it up to your ear and you listen to some dude talk about the catacombs. I didn't want that. I just wanted to walk through the catacombs. So we go down there, and it's very linear. It's basically like Final Fantasy 13. The first half. It's pretty much just a long corridor. Sometimes it widens out a little bit, but it's pretty much a corridor. You're going in one direction the entire time, and you're just walking through. And some of the stretches are there's just nothing. It's literally just a corridor. Just a lengthy stretch of sort of turning corridor. And then you get to the parts where you have all like the skulls and the femur bones and stuff stacked up and stuff like that, and that's kind of what you see when you see pictures of the catacombs. And there's a lot of like plaques on the wall that have, I mean, it's pretty much all French. Luckily we had the teacher with us, so she could translate all the French. But there's a lot of plaques that in French and occasionally Latin that just kind of talk about death and life and the afterlife and living and dying and blah, 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 and so stuff like that. And occasionally you'll come across like gates, because they don't want anybody going through the official entrance, school groups going into the catacombs through this museum entrance and then just like getting lost. They don't want that. So there's a lot of gates around, so you're stuck to the corridor. But it's pretty creepy because you see the gates and it's just like behind the gate is just like a pitch black hallway or something. Like you can't see it. It's just darkness. And that's, of course, the creepiest part. But yeah, overall, I mean, you just kind of, you see all these bones and you see all these skulls and stuff, and it's just, it's not really, that in itself is not really like creepy or anything like that, because you just kind of get desensitized to it because there's just so many of them. There's just stacks and stacks and stacks of bones, and it's like, wow, it's a lot of bones. You kind of have to like just think about it. What like the people whose job it was to stack all these skulls and these bodies and stuff like that. And it's a very unique, I guess, location, and that's why I thought it was cool. But really, the really cool part, I guess, of the catacombs and the tunnels underneath Paris is just the breadth of them, just how many there are, the miles of them. And you don't get to see any of that if you go in legally or anything like that. And I am not adventurous enough to do the whole illegal thing where you go with the cataphiles, I think they're called, where they go in illegally and they try to map it out, and they have all these like secret tunnels, and they have secret little hideouts and all that kind of stuff, which is very, very, very fascinating. You can watch documentaries about that and stuff. It's very cool. That's the cooler part. The official museum tour, whatever, corridor, it's interesting, but it's not like, holy shit, yeah. You get to read, they have like information, signs, and there's one room that's filled with like, just walls of information about the catacombs and stuff like that. Apparently, at some point, fairly recently, like within the 2000s, Parisian police found like an entire movie theater in the catacombs. Like it had like a projector and it had like seats and like a popcorn machine or something like that. Like it was a full movie theater that had been set up in the catacombs. It's just like, that's the kind of stuff you want to know about. That's really damn cool. The official corridor is just, here's some bones, there's some plaques that say death is cool or something, and here's some more bones, and then you're out. I don't regret going, obviously, because it wasn't a massive wait. But if I had waited 3 hours for that, I probably would have been a little upset. Yeah, so it is what it is. I'm glad that I went. But, yeah, I mean, someday, maybe at some point in my life, when I'm really adventurous, midlife crisis or something, and be like, I want to go illegally into the catacombs and get lost. No, I don't want to get lost. That would be bad. Anyways, so then after we did the catacombs, we had lunch. Trying to remember what I ate that day. It's so insignificant. I don't think it was anything important. No, I doubt it. And then after that, I think we did the Sacré-Cœur, which is a cathedral, which we didn't even go into. Okay. Well, for one, okay, so we're told the Sacré-Cœur, it's this cathedral up on a hill, right? And so before we get on the metro to go there, we're told that this area around this cathedral is the worst area or something like that in Paris for pickpockets. And also there will be people that, I mean, I didn't really understand this, and I don't think it would have affected me in the slightest. But apparently what we were told, and Ziggy confirmed this, is they will, like, grab your wrist, okay, and they'll tie, like, string around it, and then they won't let you go until you pay them $5. Okay, so I'm riding the metro on the way there, and the whole time I'm just thinking, like, how does that work? Because pickpocketing I get. It's a very subtle crime, right? You're, like, the victim is not supposed to know he's been pickpocketed until the criminal is long gone, So he has no knowledge of who the criminal is. That's how it should be as far as the pickpocket is concerned. Okay, but this bracelet crime seems very ostentatious. You know exactly who the criminal is, and you can just shout, "Hey, this dude's a criminal. He's extorting me for money." And it's not like the police are absent. Okay, there are police all over the place, so I just don't get how this crime really operates. And it turns out I did not see this happen at all. I don't know if the area had been cleaned up a little bit or what, but I saw no one getting braceleted, no one in our group, no strangers, nothing. None of this happened anywhere in that area. So maybe it just got cleaned up and this was old information. This used to happen, but now they have a stronger police presence or something like that. But okay, so say the police aren't there, which means, I don't know, that if the police aren't there, you do whatever the fuck you want. So I don't know. Then you just mug me or something. But okay, say, you tie a string around my wrist. And you say, I mean, I assume I assume there's a length of string coming off of the wrist, and they're holding on to it, so they've got like me lassoed right by the wrist. That's what I'm kind of picturing. And so they're holding they're holding on, and they say, "We won't let go until you give us $5." And I thought, okay, I mean, I'm just gonna walk away because this guy's really gonna stop me by holding a piece of string. But then I guess if you're like a 16-year-old girl, and this happens to you, then I guess it makes sense. Because these guys will probably be bigger than you and stronger. And so I suppose it works in that case. So I was probably under no concern of being braceleted, even if it was happening. But I don't know, like, it just doesn't seem like the best crime. It just seems like there'd be too many people around to pinpoint who the criminal was. And it is a crime, right? This is not a legal way to get money. You are absolutely holding somebody against their will and extorting money from them. It's a crime. So, I don't know. It just seems so illogical to me, but I'm not a criminal, so I guess I don't know. Anyways, so we go up to Sacré-Cœur, which is, it's on top of this gigantic hill. And so you can actually pay money to take like a little lift that goes up on an angle up to the top. So we did that because it's just way too damn hot out. So we get up to the top of the hill, and the tour guide's like, okay, there's Sacré-Cœur, and you can go inside, and there's art in there, or I don't know what she said. It's a beautiful cathedral, blah, 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 but there's shops and stuff over here. I don't think a single person in like our 40-person group went into that cathedral. No one cared. And so, yeah, a few people in our group, including myself, we found a cafe, and we sat at that cafe for like 2.5 hours. In the shade, just drinking. That's all we did. Why? I don't care about a cathedral. I'm just going to sit here. It's way too damn hot for anything. I don't know. So that was a nice evening. And then after that, we went to dinner. I want to say that was our farewell dinner for France. Yeah, I think so. So it was our final dinner in France. The final French meal we're going to have. And it was I think there's some kind of pork or something. I don't know. French food is just so utterly generic. At least what we were served. I don't know. There was one of the women in our tour group. One of the girls' aunts that came along. Pretty annoying lady, I gotta say. She had one of those kind of holier than thou personalities. Where she's basically like, she's perfect and you're kind of just basking in her glory, I guess. Just not a person I would spend any time with ever, if given the choice. She had been to Paris. She had lived in Paris. And so she loved Paris. And so you know me, I don't really give a shit about things that I say. So I'm sitting there, with some of the group, and she's sitting there, and I'm just like, I can see why French food didn't really catch on in America. And I think she was trying to restrain how offended she was. because she loves France. You know, she loves Paris. She loves all the food, everything we ate was, oh, I love this. And so for me to say that, I think that bothered her. But we don't have a lot of French food in America. There's no Olive Garden equivalent for French food. There isn't. And I always thought it was because French food was so complicated. That's what my mom always told me. She's like, French food uses all these weird sauces and everything's sauces and it's complicated flavors and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, okay, Americans just aren't into that. But from what I ate in Paris, French food is just really boring. Now, I know that we were part of this big tour group, and so they had to serve like 40 people, and so they just went to whatever the cheapest restaurant they could find that would do, this many people, and blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, you've got this group of people, right, that paid thousands of dollars to come to this once-in-a-lifetime French trip. That's what it is. For most of these people, this is a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing. Thousands of dollars spent. Some of these, family members, stuff like that. My sister went with her son. That's many thousands of dollars. And for our French dinner in Paris, you serve us a hamburger and French fries. Now, maybe that is Parisian food. Maybe that is what French people eat. But it's just, no, that's not what we paid for. We want the really complicated stuff. We want the extravagant stuff. That's what we paid for. Now, maybe that wasn't really within the budget. I don't know. But the problem was it wasn't really a good burger and fries. So anyways. So we ate some pork thing for our final dinner. We had some, I don't know, raspberry dessert or anything like that. And there was we gave a big fond farewell to Paris. And that was pretty much it. And so I think at that point, half of the big group went home, back to America, and then the other half, including our half, went on to jolly old London. So in the morning, we cleaned out our hotel rooms, and we got on the Eurostar, which is a train. So this was my first train ride. And so, we had to go through all this customs and stuff. And before we got there, before we got to Eurostar and all on the train and all that, I was told by somebody that security between France and the UK was a lot more serious and a lot more drastic than it was between America and Europe. Maybe that's true by airplane, but that was not true by train. In the train station, they barely gave a shit. Like at the security checkpoint where you put your bags through the conveyor and you go through the metal detector and everything, like they had a few security people there, but they were all like sitting, they were like lounging around. Like they didn't even like tell me to go through the metal detector, and there was nothing like that. They were just lounging around just in case like somebody holds up a bomb or something like that. Then maybe they'll jump in. But other than that, I don't know. I certainly could have had chemicals somewhere around my body, and they wouldn't have cared. I had metal on me. I had like metal zippers and stuff that I forgot about in my pockets. I had a bag or something with some metal zippers, and maybe that's under the threshold or something. It doesn't go, but maybe that metal detector didn't even work. I don't know. They didn't They didn't care. So anyways, tour guide is handing out tickets for the train. And she says to me and the teacher, she's like, you look like you'd prefer some alone time. Not the two of us. She said that individually. And so I thought that meant that I would get like my own section where I'm just by myself. And I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. That sounds nice. No, what she meant was, you look like you'd be like to be separated from the entire group and be seated with a bunch of strangers. So that's what happened. So on my flight to Europe, I was seated with strangers. And on my train from France to the UK, I was seated with strangers. It wasn't a big deal. It was a pretty quick train ride. It's like an hour and a half to go by train, which is pretty nice. So we arrive in jolly old London, and I'm expecting, foggy London town. You always hear about UK being just cloudy and rainy and stuff like that. Nope. Oh, not during a heat wave. It was just constant sun and no clouds. So that was nice. So let's see. We check into our hotel. And since we were only there for 2 nights, we actually got a really nice hotel. Big room and really big bathroom and and good air conditioning and stuff. It was a nice hotel room. The tea sucked ass, though. I'm not a big tea drinker, but we had some tea in the hotel room in Paris that I tried. And of course I dumped all the sugar and the milk or whatever into it, but I actually really liked it. So I was like, oh man, tea, yeah. So then when I arrived in London, I thought, well, they're the masters of tea. They love tea, so they gotta have some great tea. That was shit. I drank like 2 sips and I'm like, this is the worst thing I've ever consumed. So I dumped it. I just dumped it in the sink. It was terrible. I don't know what the hell they're doing over there. My hotel room here in Germany, they don't even give you tea. It's only coffee. It's just cafe crema and coffine. I don't know. Anyways, so once again we arrive in a new foreign country. We dump our stuff in our hotel rooms. We don't even get to wash up or brush our teeth or nothing. Just dump your shit. We got stuff to do. And it's just like, I hate this trip. I hate it. Give me another off day. So we hit the town. We got to see some sights. So first we go to Covent Square or Covent Circle or something. Covent Square, which is basically the shopping area. And the first thing we did was pretty much go straight to this burger shop. I actually had a pretty damn good burger. I was really surprised. Because I had been stuck with so much crappy food so far. But it was actually a really good burger. They could work on their bun a little bit, but it was yummy, and they had this raspberry lemonade or something like that was just so delicious. So I thought, this is a pretty good start. Pretty good start to the London stay, even though it is pretty hot. So we did some shopping around there, and I was looking for a gift for my German acquaintance. And she's a bit of a girly girl, and she likes pink stuff. So we saw this little pink purse from a satchel shop, and I thought, okay, that could be pretty great. It was pretty small. It was really I don't know the intricacies of accessories. So for me, I don't understand purses and when you would use specific purses, Because for me, I have a wallet, and that's where the money goes, and then everything else just kind of gets dumped into pockets. So girls don't do that. They have purses, but they have different sized purses for different occasions, and then they have different colors for their outfit. I don't know. So I just bought this little pink purse, and I was like, okay, she'll use this for something. I later find out that's really only used if you're going to like a party. And she doesn't go to many parties where she would use that, so it's not the best gift. Really, she generally carries a fairly large purse. But what are you going to do? I'm sorry. It's the thought that counts. Anyways. So here's where there was an argument. There was an argument between the parents and the teacher of our group and the tour guide of the tour. So the next stop after this little shopping trip was to a art gallery. I think it was like the National Portrait Gallery or something like that, where they have all these portraits, and there's the portraits of the royal family and blah, 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 blah. And no one in our group was interested in this. We were not an artsy group. You guys know me. I could give 3 shits about art. Well, I mean, that's not true. I do like art. It's just I like fantasy art or, Star Wars art. I like cool art. I don't like pictures of flowers. I'm not interested in that. Or pictures of Queen George II or God knows what. And so a lot of other people in our group, essentially our entire group, pretty much agreed that we did not want to go to another art gallery because they had already been to the Louvre and they went to the Musée d'Orsay, which is when I took my off day, and some of them went to Monet's Garden. So they had seen a bunch of art, and they did not want to see any more. And so the tour guide had overheard them all kind of discussing this about how they didn't want to see art. And so she pulled the adults aside. And from what I was not pulled aside, and I'm fine with that. I guess technically I was counted as a kid, even though I was basically in between. And so the tour guide pulled all the adults aside and basically lectured them about how she thought it was terrible that the adults were saying that they didn't want to see art, and she thought that it was very discouraging to the kids for them to be saying this, and basically the kids were emulating the adults because the adults don't want to see art, so the kids are like, oh yeah, I don't want to see art either. And I'm thinking, when I heard about this afterwards, I was like, that's the most ridiculous bullshit thing I've ever heard. These kids are not like 6. These are like 17-year-olds, 16 and 17-year-olds. At that point in your life, you know if you like art or not. You just do. Dave Chappelle says, like, at 13, you know if you want to be peed on or not. At 17, you know if you like art or not. It's pretty simple. You're not trying to emulate an adult on whether they like art. You know if you like art. I knew if I liked art when I was, like, 10, Probably younger. I never cared for it. So, yeah, and, of course, the adults kind of got angry because they pretty much agreed with me that they knew the kids didn't want to see art, and that's just is what it is. And, of course, the tour guide won out. Tour guide won the argument just because they didn't really have any choice. And so we were forced to go to the portrait gallery. I did not see any portraits in that portrait gallery because we basically walked in, we got our bags examined for any guns, and then we basically did like a U-turn and went out because we heard there was a pharmacy across the street, and my sister really wanted to go in there to get ibuprofen cream. So, ibuprofen, aspirin, all that kind of stuff, pain relief, blah, blah, blah. That's all available pretty much most places. You've probably heard of this. Ibuprofen cream is basically a gel. It comes in a tube, and it's like concentrated aspirin, pretty much, ibuprofen, that you rub onto the area, and it's supposed to be a very targeted effect. So I guess it's more effective because it targets a specific area instead of your entire body. And it's not available in America because the FDA has not approved it for whatever reason. But it is available in other countries because freedom or something, I don't know. So my sister really wanted to get that. So we did a U-turn out of the portrait gallery, and a few of us went straight over to the pharmacy. And of course, we bought the cream. I bought some. I used some because my feet were still hurting. I don't know how effective it was, but okay. And then I don't know if she had heard about this beforehand or she just realized it there. I think she had heard about it and she wanted some as well. But it was ibuprofen with codeine. So it was a combination of ibuprofen with codeine. And apparently, I'm the least informed about drugs. I don't even use aspirin almost ever. So I'm not the person to really discuss this, but apparently you can get this stuff in America, but you need like a doctor's prescription or something like that, and it's expensive and blah, blah, blah. Whereas here in London, you can literally just walk up and ask for it and buy it. And so this is like the really good stuff. You know, you want to get this. This is what I was told. And I was not going to purchase it. But my sister said, just buy it and I'll buy it off you if you don't use it or blah, blah, blah. Just get it because, you're here. So I'm like, okay. So they go up to the little counter and they talk to there's a word for it that I'm blanking on, but they talk to the people there and they ask for ibuprofen with codeine. And so they start giving her the rundown about how, don't use this with this, or don't use this if you have this condition, or blah, 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 blah. And they ring it up for her, and she purchases it. And there's 4 of us there, and so we all go up there one by one, and we all start asking for the exact same drug, ibuprofen with codeine. And if you know anything about drugs, codeine has a reputation for being fairly addictive. And so they stopped us. The person there was like, are you all together? She asked us if we were all together. And this is a lot of ibuprofen with codeine. Is this all for a specific person or for individual? And so we tried to explain to her that you're supposed to use it like if you have a real serious injury or whatever, real serious pain, and it should not be like your first go-to medicine. Like you should try regular stuff first, and if that still doesn't work, then you bump it up because it's addictive and blah blah blah. And so we were trying to explain like, well, it's really expensive in America and you need doctor and blah blah blah. So we're basically just stocking up in case. They were not happy about it, but at the end they they couldn't really stop us. They could just only sell one to each of us, and there were 4 of us, so shut up and ring it up. And that's what they did. So I walked away with some drugs. And I actually did end up using a couple. I used 2 of them because my feet were really, really hurting. I think it helped. I'm not addicted, so that's good. Maybe it helped. I don't know. Maybe I'm immune to drugs. I doubt it. Anyways. So we meet back up with the group, and we're like, oh yeah, that portrait gallery, that was great. And then we kept on walking around. We went to Piccadilly Circus, which is, it's just like a circle. It's like a mini Times Square, basically. We walked around some more. There was a bunch of walking. That's what I remember. I'm trying to remember what else there was. We had dinner that night, which was fish and chips. So I had my first authentic British fish and chips meal. And it was pretty much like any other fried fish dinner I've ever had. It's like their signature thing, but it's not that unique at all. Like, go to any restaurant in America on a Friday, you can pretty much get that exact same thing. And I always thought they were like waffle fries. I don't know why, but I thought it was like fried fish and waffle fries. But no, it was French fries. It was fine, but it wasn't special. And then, so that night, we had the option of either going right back to our hotel, which is what I wanted to do. But apparently a bunch of people are going to see the London Eye. And they kept talking about the London Eye, and I was like, what the hell is the London Eye? And then it's the big Ferris wheel. You know, if you ever seen like the intro to Sherlock or something, you've probably seen the giant Ferris wheel. That's it. It's the London Eye. But it's not the London Eye. It is the Coca-Cola London Eye. That's so Shadowrun to me. Just have all these landmarks and things like that with just a corporate name in front of them. So I made the joke about Pepsi presents the Louvre or something like that. That'll be nice someday. So I really did not want to go because I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I don't like heights. I don't like paying money. And we would have to walk there, and I was just like, I don't want to do any of this. But literally, like, almost every other person was going. But then after I had agreed to go, because everyone else was going, a few other people backed out. And at that point, I don't know. My sister on vacation is basically the opposite of me. When I'm on vacation, I don't want to do a damn thing ever. I just want to eat a lot of junk food because I don't normally do that. And do nothing. Like, I'm okay doing nothing. That's why I took the off day. I'm okay doing nothing on vacation. Whereas she thinks if she's not doing something, that is a waste of her vacation. So we're very different, and she has a very forceful personality, and so I couldn't back out. So without long, it was a lot of freaking walking. Pissed me off. We finally get over to the London Eye. 26 pounds to get on the London Eye. 26 pounds. It's like $30. It's like $30 to get on a Ferris wheel. And it's not like a holy shit super awesome special Ferris wheel. No, it's a Ferris wheel. It goes pretty slowly, which is either a pro or a con depending on your perspective. And yeah, you get a view of London, no doubt, but you paid $30 for that view of London. So again, I did not want to do it. I did not want to spend that money because I knew it was not going to be worth it for me. But I was there. There wasn't much I could do, so we got on. And I don't like... Well, for one, I don't like heights. I figure if we were meant to be up in the air, we would be born with wings. So I don't care for it. But I also don't like... I don't really trust, like, man-made constructions. Because I saw... I've seen the Final Destination movies. Final Destination 3, that roller coaster at the start, that's just like, alright, fuck all roller coasters, I guess. And I don't like really any rides of any kind. And so we're going up the London Eye, we're all in this, it's basically like a canister. It's like a capsule, really. And it's pretty much see-through on all sides. So there's a bunch of people in there. Our whole group was like 20 people or something like that, all in this one canister. And we start going up. And so I happened to mention how thin I thought the cables were connected to this Ferris wheel. And the rest of the group did not care for that. No, sir. I got yelled at quite a bit for my commentary about how thin the cables were and stuff. Our chances of fatalities if we were to suddenly plummet, things like that. They told me to shut up quite a bit. I'm sorry, that's just what I'm thinking about while I'm going up this thing. These cables are like, they're like that thick, and that seems pretty thin for this thing supporting, 20 people. So sue me. But we did not crash because you did not read about it on the news. And so we went up, and it's a good view of London. It's probably the best view of London you're gonna get, aside from managing to get in a helicopter or on top of one of the few skyscrapers or something like that. It's a very easy way to get a good view of London. And London is very big. It stretches out really wide. It's all around you. There's just a lot of city. It's a huge city. So it's not a terrible ride, I guess. It's not a terrible little thing to do. I do not think it's worth $30, and I think they're just trying to rip off tourists, but c'est la vie. So we made it back down, and then we pretty much went home. Actually, we stopped at like a little grocery store. It was really strange. It was the strangest grocery store I've ever been in. It was a hallway. The entire grocery store was one hallway, literally like one person wide. And so you had like this narrow hallway with shelves on both sides, and that was the entire grocery store. And so you just walked in one entrance, you went down the hallway, you picked your stuff up, you bought it at the end, and you walked out the other entrance, the exit. It was very strange, but I guess it works. So then the next day, which was our really last day in London, we had a bus tour. So we had a British woman tell us about stuff. She was not nearly as entertaining as our French tour guides, because she wasn't really that jolly and entertaining, and she wasn't into the Cthulhu mythos, so it didn't really work for me as well. But I guess she was knowledgeable, so that's fine. And she showed us around, and there was a bus, and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And I really can't remember much else of that day. Oh, we went to the Tower of London. That's right. Oh, also, I got to meet up with my good buddy Ren, who has been a long-time fan of the channel. And he lives in London, so we met up for lunch. And Ryan, I apologize that I did not have more time, and I had other people with me to deal with that. It was not a perfect scenario, but it was a nice lunch. It was nice meeting him. He's a good guy. So I hope all future fan interactions can go as well as that. It was good. We went to this. I guess you'd call it like a little cafe, pretty much. It was like an Italian cafe, and they had a Mexican burger on the menu, and so of course I had to get that. So it was an Italian restaurant serving a Mexican burger in the United Kingdom. It did not exactly impress. Basically, Europe doesn't know anything about Mexico. They have no knowledge of Mexican cooking. They don't know anything about how Mexico operates or anything, Mexican spices, nothing. They like read about it and they're like, okay, sure, Mexico's cool. That's been my experience. But anyways, it was nice to meet Ren, cool guy. So after that, we went to the Tower of London, which is not really a tower. It's kind of a castle. And it's just kind of smack in the middle of all the stuff. It's pretty strange. Again, like 28 euros or 28 pounds or something like that to get into the Tower of London. It's just insane how much they extort their tourists. And we paid it. We all paid it. It's crazy. Before we went in, we went to a Starbucks, and I don't ever go to Starbucks. But my nephew, Doofy, occasionally, my sister loves Starbucks, goes there like every day, and so he goes occasionally as well, and he gets like this fruit tea or something like that. It's like a fruit drink, and I had it before at some point, and so I was like, okay, well, I can always get that at Starbucks. That's usually pretty tasty, but I don't know if he messed up the order or it's just whatever, but there was like no sugar in it. So that was kind of unfortunate. We were just all sitting there just dumping sugar into the drink. Anyways, we went into the Tower of London, and at this point, again, my feet are just like, fuck all this. So I was not interested in anything the Tower of London had to show, which is unfortunate because there is some cool stuff in there. There is like this whole building full of like medieval weapons and armor, like, again, very Dark Souls-esque stuff, which, like, in a normal day when I'm feeling normal, I would have been all into that. I would have been reading everything. We're like, wow, this is really cool shit. I would have told you all about it, but I pretty much just like sat and waited for them to be done. It's unfortunate. I blame my shoes entirely. They're just not working out. And we saw the crown jewels. Didn't really impress me. There's a lot of gold. They just love gold. It's just kind of tacky looking now. I wasn't too blown away by the crown jewels. That was pretty much it. We went across Tower Bridge. We stopped at this little like riverside bar, and I got a frozen daiquiri and a frozen pina colada, which I loved, because apparently when you like freeze these drinks and blend them into like a slushy, you remove all the alcohol taste, and so you just get buzzed and you just have like a slushy, and it's yummy. So I like that. Then we went to dinner where we had bangers and mash. And so the whole time, I'm just thinking of Arrested Development, where he's, he asks if anybody wants a banger in the mouth. And I had some bangers in my mouth. I had a bunch. Because I talked about this, I think, in Hanging with Mangg or something like that. I think. Maybe it was another video. Maybe it was a Mangg Souls or something. But I talked about how much I love meat and mashed potatoes. Where if you combine any sort of meat with mashed potatoes in one bite, it's like the best thing ever. And that's pretty much what bangers and mash was. They just gave you like sausages and a pile of mashed potatoes. And I loved it. It was my favorite dinner of the entire trip. And the tour guide invited one of her like colleagues to eat with us. And she showed up really late, and when she showed up, she wasn't hungry because she said it was too hot. It's never stopped me. And so she didn't eat her plate of bangers and mash. And so it was like, oh, does anybody want that plate? Put those bangers in my mouth. So yeah, I had 2 plates of bangers and mash, and I love both of them. Yeah, and then we had some dessert of, I don't know, some kind of ice cream. I don't know. It was good. It was probably the best dinner of the entire trip. And yeah, that was pretty much it. We started walking along like the boardwalk, I guess, of the River Thames, and they wanted to go check out like the Globe, which is like a reconstruction of a theater that Shakespeare worked at, or I don't know, something like that. And so I was like, all right, fuck, I don't want anything to do with that. But everyone else did. Everyone else wanted to go because it was the last night of the trip. Like right in the morning, we were all going to the airport. So they didn't want to go home yet. You know, it was like 8:30 or something like that. But I was like, it's going to take fucking an hour to get back home. So no, I'm done. And so I thought I was going to be heading back by myself, but one of the other adults, pretty much just like, she was just pretty much an old woman. That's kind of harsh. I apologize. She was an older woman who had pretty much been like me the whole trip, where she just didn't care about seeing really almost anything, and her feet hurt the whole time. And so she was heading back as well. So we headed back together. And on the metro ride back to the hotel, we're both sitting there, and this dude is like standing there because there's no seats left. So he's standing pretty much in between us while the metro is going. And he pulls out like this pouch like out of his pocket, and he like unrolls it, and he pulls out like cigarette papers. And so I'm like, okay, he rolls his own cigarettes. That's pretty interesting. You don't see that too often. My dad used to do that for a while. He didn't. I don't know why. I was pretty young, but I knew he did it. He rolled his own cigarettes. So while he's kind of fumbling with the cigarette papers, I'm like, okay, he's rolling his own cigarettes, or, I mean, it's not going to be like cig of weed. Sure enough, he dips his fingers into the pouch and pulls out a big pile of green stuff. And yep, he rolled his own joint on the metro. So that was interesting. He did not smoke it on the metro, though. That would have been pretty crazy. But seeing a man just sit there and roll a joint, like a foot away from me on a crowded train, it was something to see. But anyways, that was pretty much it. We're almost an hour in. I haven't even gotten to Germany yet. So next day, everyone's scrambling. We all pack up our stuff again. We load up onto a bus, and we go to Heathrow. And Heathrow is one of the biggest, busiest airports in the world. It's apparently not the busiest, but one of. And so this is kind of where we part ways, because most of the group is going back to America, whereas I was continuing on to Deutschland. And so I was leaving from Terminal 5, they were leaving from Terminal 2, but we all went to Terminal 2. They checked in and did all that there, and we said our goodbyes, and I thought, okay, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But very fortunately for me, I think, the tour guide for the whole tour lives in France. And so she was getting on a plane to go back to France, which was departing from Terminal 5. So very fortunately, I got to stick with her for a little while to get from Terminal 2 to Terminal 5. I probably could have done it on my own, but it was nice to have someone there for a little bit longer. So took their little commuter train or whatever to Terminal 5. Yeah, they have top 5 terminals. And so we get to Terminal 5, and she's pretty much just like, okay, well, there's a cafe over there, and I hope your iPad is charged, and see ya. And that was it. I was alone. So that was at about 9 a.m., 8:45, I think, something like that. My flight to Germany was supposed to depart at 5:15 p.m., which meant that I was at Heathrow Airport for about 8 hours or so. Which, yeah, while I was there was pretty shitty, but I guess it is something to say that I sat at Heathrow for 8 hours on a flight. That sounds like an adult thing to say. Yeah, it was very boring, incredibly boring. It was also really annoying because, they don't let you check in your bag, your luggage, until like 3 or 4 hours before the flight leaves. So for a good number of hours, I just had to sit there with all of my luggage. And to go to the cafe or go to the bathroom, I had to take all my luggage with me. It was really obnoxious. So yeah, I kind of just sat on my phone and I read a book, and there's not a lot you can do. I did go to the cafe and I got some stuff to drink, and then around noon I was like, okay, I can get lunch at this cafe, and they have you can buy sandwiches and they toast them right there, and I was like, oh, that's pretty good. I'll just get this, and then I'll just hold out until I arrive in Germany where I'm going for dinner with them. So I was like, okay, I'll just get a nice lunch here. So I get a bag of chips, I got a toasted sandwich, I eat half the sandwich, and then I drop the other half on the ground. Now, maybe some of you would have just picked it up and brushed it off and eaten it, but I just couldn't live with myself if I picked up half a sandwich off of the Heathrow terminal floor and ate it. Fuck it. So I just threw it away. So finally I checked my bags in. I felt like a real adult doing it. It was great. I did it all myself. No one around to help me. Checked my bags, went through security and all that. And I actually did my laptop thing properly. I put it in its own basket, and it went right through. I was very happy. Everything went through. I was not arrested or held at gunpoint or anything like that. It was very simple. Didn't even have to take off my shoes. You don't have to take off your shoes, I guess. So that's good. Only in America. And so then I went down to where all the gates are, and they have, of course, all the food places. They have a lot of shopping in Heathrow. Like jewelry, and you can buy whiskey. There's a lot of shops there. That was surprising. I guess it makes sense. And so then for the next 5 hours or 4 hours or something, my only concern was finding a charging port, which for a long time seemed really, really difficult because it was packed and there weren't that many charging ports. And then later on, it seemed like it was so easy to find a charging port. I don't know. It was just like the sudden switch where all of a sudden it was like there was an abundant. I had an entire 8 racks of charging stations where I could just be like, okay. So yeah, again, just kind of sitting there, sat on my phone and waited. Just waited. Finally, because I mean, you can't. They don't tell you what gate the plane is coming at until the plane's pretty much there. So you just kind of have to wait there, and then finally it shows up what gate it is, and you got to rush over there. So I rush over there, and then suddenly, boom, I'm surrounded by German people. I'm up there. I'm with all English-speaking people everywhere, in Heathrow, and then you go over to where the gate for the German plane is, and you're just surrounded by old German people. It's like, well, yep, I'm going to this country. So we were told, I guess my boarding pass said that the gate was closing at 4:50 and the flight was leaving at 5:15. So I was certainly on time, but they already seemed like they didn't know what the hell they were doing, which is odd because you'd think Heathrow would know how to do a whole airplane thing. But they started boarding us onto like buses, and I'm like, okay, I thought it was flying to Germany, but I guess I'm going by bus. But no, the bus takes us to the airplane, which is, it's not like in the movies, I guess, where you walk through this like thing. That's how it was in Chicago. But no, here the airplane is just like off in a field somewhere, and they're just driving us over to it. So we were all still getting on the buses when it was like 4:50. So I was like, okay, they seem to be running a little slow. They pack us onto these buses. They drive us over to the airplane. We get on the airplane. I was very happy. I got a window seat, and there was nobody sitting next to me. I was very happy. I thought this is the best case scenario for an airplane. But the flight got delayed. Flight got delayed by about an hour. So I got to sit there for a long time as well. So I did not leave London until like 6:10 or something like that. It was just so slow. Apparently it was like congestion or something like that. I don't know, but it was nightmarish. I was just like, get me the fuck out of the United Kingdom. But we finally did. We got out of there. It was pretty cool to see. Again, like I said, I don't like heights, but I actually was not bothered that much. I think it was just really cool to look down and just see everything so small down there. It was nice. And it was a pretty quick flight. It was very quick, in fact. We arrived almost on time. Considering like the hour delay, I don't know how that happened, but they can just make the plane go as fast as they want, and so I feel like normally they fly it really slow, so that in case they need to, they can really put their asses in gear. So I think we're originally scheduled, if everything was going well, to arrive at 7:45, and we ended up arriving at like 8. So pretty good. So we arrive. I'm in Germany, and we go through the passport. I always expect no one ever asked me if I'm there for business or pleasure, and I thought that was what they always asked. And I just wanted to say pleasure. That's all I wanted to say, but no one ever asked me. All they asked me was if it was my first time in Germany. So, okay. So I got my passport smacked with 3 different countries now. Pretty cool. We head down to baggage. All the baggage comes out. I don't see my bag. I'm freaking out. I'm like, okay, that's pretty much worst case, right? When you don't see your luggage. But no, they were just really slow, and it finally popped out. And I rolled out, and I got greeted by my German acquaintances. And yeah, that was something. And we went to the hotel. We dropped off my stuff at the hotel. We went to a burger place for dinner. That was pretty good. And then I pretty much just went to bed. And this is not my original room. This is not the room that I had booked. The room that I had booked is quite a bit smaller than this. And it was pretty hot the first night that I was here. And it turned out that my air conditioning wasn't working. And I thought I was just stupid and I didn't know how to work it. Even though it seemed like I tried everything and nothing happened. So I just slept that first night with the windows open, which wasn't really uncomfortable. But I'm in the middle of a city, so it was very noisy. I'm a pretty heavy sleeper, so it didn't really bother me, but I would have preferred air conditioning. And so the next day, my acquaintance complained for me in German to the front office, the front desk, and complained to them about my air conditioning, blah blah blah. And they said, yeah, they thought I didn't know what I was doing either, but they checked and they confirmed that it was broken. And so they said, okay, well, we will upgrade you to a suite at no charge. So this is my German hotel suite. It's fairly large, I guess. I have no need for this much space. There's not like any really extra amenities or anything like that. Oh, shit, scheisse. There's no like hot tub or anything like that. It's shit. It's literally just a bigger room. Oh my god, it's not cooperating. It's not cooperating. I'm just gonna hold it. So I mean, it was pretty nice. I don't mind the suite, and it's nice to say I have a suite for 10 days, no charge. That's pretty good, just because my air conditioning was broken. So let's see, what did we do? Oh, so the next day then, her and I, she had her German 2-hour lunch break. So we met up and we went over to basically the mall, and I got some grocery shopping. That's where I discovered the pig candy, which I really like. And I bought like a 4-pack of big Coke Zeros. It was just so nice to have as much Coke Zero as I want after all like the limited drinks in France and stuff. And then we got lunch. We went to a Chinese place, which was, they just had like Chinese to go. And I am a rice man. I love rice. Like, when I order Chinese food, I order extra rice because I love it. But apparently she said they don't do rice. She said they don't do it. I don't believe her because they had a big thing of rice. And in fact, she's like, oh, do you want rice? And I'm like, yeah. And she says something to the lady in German. And the lady starts putting rice into like a little bucket. And then she says something else in German. And some more German happens. And then she dumps all the rice out and she puts noodles in instead. And I'm like, okay, I guess she decided for me I wasn't getting rice. So I've never really had noodles before ever at a German or at an Asian Chinese place because I love rice so much. I actually really enjoyed it. It was just one of those little like Chinese food containers filled with noodles and chicken, and I really liked it. I actually would eat some of it right now. Needed some soy sauce, but it was good. And so it was really nice, to just go grocery shopping with a girl and get lunch and sit at a fountain together and eat your lunch together. It's very sweet. It's very sweet. So then I went back to my hotel. She went back to work, and that was that. And then after her work was done, we got in the car and we went to her house, which of course is not her house. It's the family house. My dad kind of grew up in, which is, it's weird. And so there I got to meet the whole family. Her dad I had already met, of course, when he came to America, but I got to meet her mom. Well, I met her mom yesterday, who doesn't speak a single word of English, so that's nice. And I got to meet her grandparents, who also don't speak a single word of English. And so I just kind of walk in and it's like, okay, yeah, this is going to be real freaking awkward because only one person here speaks both German and English, and her English is not wonderful, and it's just going to be awkward because it's also like in what capacity am I here? Am I here as am I a family member, or am I like a suitor, or I don't know. And that's been my continual question so far since I've been here. Is like, what am I doing here? And what do people think I'm doing here? Because it is drastic for me to come here and spend this much time and this much money to be here for whatever reason it may be. It was an awkward dinner. Let's put it that way. The food was good though, and so far the food in Germany has been very good. I've enjoyed almost everything I've eaten, even like their weird white asparagus. I thought was okay. Beer, I guess I'll talk about beer. They of course love beer. Every place sells beer, and they have their Radlers or whatever, which is beer with Sprite, which basically just kind of cuts the taste of the alcohol with the beer, and mixes it with sort of a refreshing, limey taste, which everyone in America told me sounds horrible, but I figured I had to try it. It's very slowly growing on me. I still wouldn't pick it over Coke Zero, but it is slowly growing on me, because basically it's like beer, but not as harsh beer. I don't know. It's going to take some more work, but it's not awful. I've drank like 5 of them so far, so it's getting there. Overall, I still wouldn't say I'm a beer drinker, and I don't know if I could even say that I will be learned to like beer, but I guess I don't like. I guess I never hate it because I never really had it. I'm learning, I guess, slowly, very slowly. Anyways, that was okay. So yeah, after that awkward dinner, we went to her best friend's house, and her best friend lives with this guy a German guy who speaks somewhat English. So I was like, okay, I guess, if he's cool, then I guess that helps. And I'm like, what are we gonna do there? And she's like, she said we were gonna, I don't know, speaking. She said we were gonna do speaking, which talking, but okay, watching a movie or something like that. So we get there, and her best friend doesn't speak any English, and this guy, kind of an awkward guy. I don't know. I guess he seemed really high, I suppose is how I would kind of describe him. His English was okay, but he was definitely not fluent. And so we walk in, and they have a pretty nice apartment, I guess, although they didn't seem to have any air conditioning. And we walk in this little hallway. We turn the corner to their living room, and sitting on the couch there is literally a clone of Kriparian. If any of you are familiar with the YouTuber, the Twitch streamer Kriparian, Crip, is literally his clone. He looked exactly like him, smoking hookah. I don't know how I didn't burst out laughing immediately. But yeah, he's just sitting there smoking hookah. And he spoke fairly good English, actually. He actually did some translating. So that was pretty good. And so I'm sitting there, with the girl, and we're sitting there next to each other, rubbing shoulders. And basically they were watching German reality television, and I wasn't really sure what was going on. And they served. Hold on. Does this work yet? Can I? No, still nothing. It's this cable. Hold on. There we go. They served us water, and I don't know if it's a European thing or I guess it is a kind of a European thing. Sparkling water. That that's not really a thing in America. I've never once heard anybody ever order sparkling water in America. Whereas in Europe, they ask you when you order water, sparkling or flat. That's not a thing in America, at least as far as I've experienced. I don't like sparkling water. I don't care for it. I don't need it. Flat water is fine as long as it's really cold. But anyways, I drank it because whatever. And so we're sitting there, we're watching reality television and blah, blah, blah. So far, pretty standard. Her foot is kind of rubbing against my leg, and I'm like... And at one point, she kind of whispers something in German to the group that speaks German. And I turn and I ask her what she's whispering about, and she just kind of giggles. And she says something in German. And then the Criparian guy, he says something in German, and then he kind of he definitely looks at me as he says it, and he says in English, some guys don't know what they can ask you, I think is the exact quote, I believe. Some guys don't know what they can ask you. He says this in English, mind you, and I'm pretty much the only English speaker in the room, and he's looking at me. So I feel like this quote is entirely directed at me. And so I look at her and I say, "What does that mean?" And she just giggles again and says, "It means what it means." And I'm just like, "Okay." And that's pretty much it. And so, going off of that, you'd think I know what you're probably thinking. Mangg, what are you waiting for? This girl is obviously been talking about you, and they're all very aware of what's going on here, and they're waiting for you to make your move and blah, blah, blah. You'd think, right, that's what's going on, but I don't know. I've been wrestling with it since I arrived here. I thought it would be, this is what my thought was, when I came here, it would just be within a day, not even, I would just know, whether this girl was really interested or not. But that's not the case. It's still so unclear because her lack of English, the language barrier still sucks. And she's just she has a medical condition. It's some sort of glandular issue, or I don't know what it is. She doesn't know what it is, but she is constantly tired all the time, every day. And so it affects her, and she's just always kind of not grumpy, but just kind of, she's not energetic about anything really. And so I just can't get a read. I just, you see, I had that whole situation there in with her best friend's apartment or whatever. And so I thought, okay, well, what the hell am I waiting for? But then the next day she just kind of is a little distant, and I don't know what to think. And then she talks about going bowling or something like that. And I'm like, okay, you and I can go bowling, right? That sounds good. It's like a date. But then she says, "Oh, it's not really fun with just two people. You got to have a big group of people." What? No, we can have a lot of fun. Two people can have fun together. I've seen it in videos. And I don't know. Anyways. So that was pretty much that. Dropped me off at my hotel. The next day, blah, 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 we went to dinner. No, we had dinner at her house again, where we had white asparagus, which is apparently very common here. And we had Wiener Schnitzel, which was good, and potatoes, which I always like. And they heard that I like strawberries because when her and I went to the grocery store, I bought strawberries because I like strawberries. So her mom bought like a giant bowl of strawberries and served them for dessert. And I ate like a little bowl of strawberries. And she's like, "Oh, you know, do you want to take them with you?" And I'm like, "I guess." So she dumped the entire content of her strawberry bowl into like some Tupperware and gave it to me. And I was like, "Okay, I'll eat them, I guess. Thank you. Dankeschön." So that night then, we went out with, she said, "Okay, do you want to go to a beach with my friends?" And so, of course, I'm thinking of like, you know, in a teen romance movie or something, you know, romantic comedy or whatever, when they go to a beach and it's very like hippie-ish or whatever. You're just at night, you're all drinking alcohol and there's a bonfire on a beach, and you know, I'm sure you can picture what I'm talking about. No, that was not the case. For one, her friends turned out to be me and her mom, and two friends of the family who were in like their 50s or late 40s. That was it. That was the group, the five of us. It was not at all what I expected. And the beach turned out to be basically like a man-made sandbar next to a river. Apparently, like every summer, they go to this spot next to a river and they just dump all this sand there, and they put up like props and stuff, and they basically make like a sand beach bar. So she described it as a beach. It's not a beach. It's just like a sand pit next to a river in a park. It was in a park. Not that it was bad. It was just not at all what I pictured. And so yeah, we went there, and the guy, it was a married couple, friends of the family. The guy, I think his name is Matthias, which is a very cool name, Scorpion King. He spoke okay English, and he talked to me a little bit throughout the night. He was pretty cool. They were both pretty cool. They were very nice people. I was glad that he spoke some English. And so yeah, we went to this beach bar, and I got a mojito. It was like a raspberry mojito, which was actually pretty good. I actually liked it. I could have had another one of them. And then I got a pina colada, which yeah, now I pretty much like the blended frozen pina coladas. That's probably what I would stick to. And yeah, she started to get definitely a little bit more talkative when she was drinking alcohol, so that's always good. That's a good thing to know. I wouldn't say she's flirtatious, but getting there, I guess. It's a bummer because when she speaks German, she seems like just a very like fun person. Like, I don't understand anything she's saying, but she does she changes her voice sometimes. You know, she seems like she's cracking jokes and stuff, and she's just speaking very excitedly. And then I talk to her in English, and she's just like, "I don't know. Yes. No. I don't know." And it's just like, great. You know, like, if I knew German, I could know the real her, but anyways. It was a nice time. It was a nice night. It was very nice out. It wasn't too hot or anything like that. It was a decent night. I enjoyed it. On the way back, as we're all jammed into this car, and it's like me, her, and then the wife of the family friends. We're sitting there. We're driving back to my hotel to drop me off, and the wife says something in German and starts nudging, the girl. And so I'm like, what is that about? And she says that she said that the two of us should go dancing. I mean, come on, right? Come on. They have to know that something's going on, or something should be going on, or whatever. You don't nudge a girl and tell her that her and a guy should go dancing unless you have some thoughts in your head, right? It was nudges. It was literally visible nudges like that I could see. And so, I was like, do you want to go dancing? And she's like, no. Which I think, it was pretty much the end of the night. She was very tired, so it didn't really matter. I don't know if that really reflects on me or anything. Maybe. Anyways, so that was pretty much the end of the night. Oh, well, we went up to my suite because they had to use the bathroom, and they got to see my suite. And she gave me a hug, and we said goodnight. The next day, her and I spent the entire day together. It was Saturday. She didn't have work. We met up. We went to lunch. We did some shopping. We lounged around. We went to her house when her parents weren't home. And she, she said, she tells me we should go to her house so I can show her how to play Final Fantasy. I don't know. I always thought if a girl invited me to her home when her parents weren't home, it would involve something other than me showing her how to play Final Fantasy X. Not that I don't like Final Fantasy X, but that was not what I expected. And I thought, okay, maybe it's a euphemism. Nope. I sat there and I played a German copy of Final Fantasy X. That apparently she played for like an hour or something like that, an hour and a half, and she didn't know what to do, and she stopped playing it like a year and a half ago. Which I guess I can understand because it was a part in Besaid where you have to like talk to people in a specific order in order to continue, and then you go into the Temple of Trials, and it's just a big bunch of bullshit. And so she kind of got sick of that real quick, and she's like, okay, now get past this part that I'm stuck at in Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And I'm like, okay, your wish is my command. And so I had to fire up a German copy of Assassin's Creed Black Flag and do a couple missions. And I was like, I had to relearn the controls, and I couldn't read anything, and it's just like, what am I doing? But I did it because that's the kind of guy I am. And I think she just really enjoyed kind of just sitting there and watching me play, which I'm sure all of you can understand because you also enjoy that. And yeah, I kind of slipped into commentary mode a little bit. I started doing some English commentary for her, even though I don't think she really understood what I was talking about. But I can't help myself. Yeah, and so then we pretty much wrapped that up, and we went to dinner. We tried to go to this really nice, kind of an American grill, pretty much, but it was packed. It was packed out the door, so we couldn't get a seat. So we went to like an authentic German restaurant, which was pretty much dead. There was like 5 people in there. And so we got steaks. We both got steaks. And those were pretty good. They have like this herb butter that they give you, which is really good. It was a pretty tasty meal. I had another beer. We had like a ice cream with hot cherries for dessert. It was a very just date thing. It was like such a date. It like really was. But she just seems so distant that I don't. And I don't know. I honestly don't know. My biggest concern is that she's such a nice person that she would never have the heart to like tell me that, she's not interested. She just like keeps stringing along because she does not have the heart to say anything. That's my biggest concern. The only thing that kind of shatters that is the fact that she bought a like $2,100 PC just to play with me. Niceness only goes so far, I think. So that's really like the one thing I'm holding on to. But yeah, that was such a date kind of day. Like, we spent the entire day together. We did shopping. We ate multiple meals together. We sat on a couch and played and stuff. And it was a very couple-ish day. Anyways, it was a very nice day. And I guess I kind of paid for that with today. I know, this is one of the longest hang with Mangs ever. I'm glad if you're sticking with us. So a while back, like months ago, her and I were discussing things that we could do while I was here. And I think I brought up the concept of museums or something like that, which I did not think about properly because we went to plenty of museums in Paris and London and stuff, and I don't need to see anything else. But it was just something I brought up way back, and she mentioned the Auschwitz Museum. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. We could do that because she's interested in that, and I could see that. That's fine. And then we kind of left it for a while until I arrived in Germany, and we were thinking about stuff that we could do again. And I was like, well, are we going to go see the Auschwitz Museum? Because I remembered we had discussed that. And I did not know, even though it takes 2 seconds to Google, and maybe you know this, Auschwitz is in Poland. Not in Germany. It's in Poland. So it's a pretty far drive. I did not realize this, and she had never mentioned it. Maybe she thought that I was supposed to know that, but I don't know. Blame the American education system. And so she brought it up to her dad. You know, she's like, I don't speak German, but I assume she said that I wanted to see the Auschwitz Museum, which that seems to be like every person I've talked to, like her friends and her friends of the family and all that, they all ask me like, what do I want to see in Germany? You know, like what do I want to sightsee? And I had to tell all of them, like, I don't want to see anything. I did tell all of them I came here just to hang out with her. That's the only reason. Like, I don't care to see anything. And they were like appalled. They were like, you don't want to see anything? Like, I don't want to see anything in America. Why would I want to see anything in Germany? And so I regret mentioning the Auschwitz Museum because her dad became very excited about a place called, maybe you've heard of it, maybe not, it's called Buchenwald. Buchenwald is basically the poor man's Auschwitz, which that's probably offensive to some people, I apologize, but that's really the best way to describe it. It's a concentration camp, but it's not a really famous one. It's famous in Germany, but not anywhere else. If you mention Buchenwald in America, no one will have any idea what you're talking about. Whereas Auschwitz, obviously, everyone knows about that. Because Auschwitz, like, over 1 million people died, whereas Buchenwald, I want to say, like, I don't know, 60,000 people or something like that. Some thousands number. And so he's like, oh, we can go to Buchenwald. You know, she says, you know, she tells me, oh, it's like Auschwitz. I'm like, okay, that could be interesting, I guess, for a day. We could go there. I'm thinking it's like an hour away. 3 hours. It's 3 hours away. And I'm just like, holy shit. 3 hours away, 3 hours back. And my rule of thumb for driving anywhere is if you have to drive longer than you're going to be at the location, it's not worth it. Unless it's like an emergency. It's just not worth it. So, I mean, if you have to drive like 45 minutes to a spot that you're going to spend 20 minutes at, that's not worth it for me. So, I doubt we're gonna. I doubted we were gonna spend 6 hours there, so this was not worth it. Sure enough, we spent about 3 hours there, and so I thought, and it was her and her parents, so it was the four of us, all packed into a car and driving 3 hours there and 3 hours back. And so I thought, okay, they must think that I'm really into this and I really want to see this. So they're making this sacrifice to drive 6 hours today to see this. That's what I thought. For one, they've already been there before, so they've already seen everything, and they're still doing this. And two, she tells me that her dad loves to drive, and he drives 3 hours, apparently there and back, just to pick up bratwurst. 6 hours for sausage. It blew my mind. And my only thought is, rude as it is your time that invaluable to you that you want to spend 6 hours to pick up sausage? Like, is there no better way to spend your time? And, if he enjoys it, which apparently he does, there's not much I can really say about it. I waste my time more than almost anybody. It just seems so absurd to me. But before I move on and finish, the most absurd thing that I have seen in Germany is the first dinner that I had at her parents' house. It was basically a barbecue, so we had steaks and sausages and stuff like that. So, he grills up a bunch of steaks and he serves us all steak. And there was bread. The bread was actually really good, even though they didn't make it, they bought it, but that's okay. And so they're setting the table and they're putting out plates and forks and knives and stuff like that. And they put out barbecue sauce because it's a barbecue. And they put out tzatziki sauce, like for euros. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty strange. We're not having euros. And then they bring out three bottles of salsa. And I'm thinking, what the fuck are we eating? Like, are there tortilla chips or what? Why do you have so much salsa? They put it on their fucking steaks. They put it on their fucking steaks. I honestly thought I was on LSD or something. Like, it was just so mind-boggling what I was witnessing. Not a little bit. Her grandpa literally dumped the bottle of salsa onto his steak. like a mound of it. They all did it. They all ate it with salsa. I swear to you, I'm not making this up. I'm not lying. They ate their steak with salsa. I have photographic evidence. It was mind-boggling. It was insane. I just couldn't believe it. And she just laughed. She just kind of laughed. They thought I was weird for thinking it was weird. And there's no Mexican restaurants here really at all. And it's like, well, no fucking wonder. Like, you people don't know anything about Mexican food. You're eating your steak with salsa. And, Trump eats his steaks with ketchup. And, he got made fun of for that. And people still make fun of him for that because that's pretty ludicrous. But they don't know about the salsa. It's just... Oh, it felt wrong is what... It just... I told them that it was like putting... I don't know. I don't remember what I said. It was about putting something on ice cream that you would never put on ice cream. And they just kind of chuckled. And then they kept dipping and eating their steaks in salsa. I don't know. It was ridiculous. Anyways, so we went to Buchenwald, and it was interesting, I guess. We watched like a 30-minute movie in like a movie theater there, which was pretty strange. I almost fell asleep. Because it was after a 3-hour drive. And we got like those audio guides, and so I'm listening to this dude like mispronounce a lot of English words while telling me about Buchenwald. It was interesting, I guess. They didn't have any gas chambers there, but the people just died because they were really like overworked and underfed and blah blah blah. Terrible conditions, and I mean it's bad. It was bad shit. Like it was not a happy place by any stretch. But it just seemed like, well, you don't want to drive to Poland to see Auschwitz. Well, come to Buchenwald. That was pretty much what it was. Not to make light of it or anything, but yeah, we were there for 3 hours and we did a bunch of walking, and my feet were starting to hurt again, and so yeah, not a lot to say about Buchenwald. A lot of it is kind of burned down and was destroyed, so there's not an entire lot there. Most of it is in one big building that's still standing, where they changed into like a kind of like an art exhibit, sort of. They have like all the remnants that they can find of like objects and clothes and things like that, and they put all little info blurbs everywhere, and so you can spend a decent amount of time there and learn stuff, but I don't like to stand and learn. That's not the ideal learning position, is standing. It's not conducive. Anyways, so then we left Buchenwald, and they just love to fucking drive. Because we drove to this other town, and like we're just like weaving through these small German streets of this town, just desperately trying to find a parking place, after they tell me that we're just going to get a tiny lunch because we're going to eat a big dinner later. So it's just a tiny lunch real quick. And we spend like 30 minutes trying to find a parking place. And I'm just like, what are we doing? Just for a tiny lunch? And she's like, it's normal in Germany. And I'm like, what the fuck? So we finally find a parking place. We get out. We get a bratwurst. And what is wrong with this country? Like, they're so illogical. You get this bratwurst, okay? And most of you are probably from America or the UK or whatever. But if not, maybe you can understand. But if you buy a hot dog, or you eat hot dogs or whatever, anything like that, even a burger, you try to get the meat so it fills the entire area of the bun. So, you have your hot dog in the bun, and the bun is as big as the hot dog, right? So with every bite, you get a bit of meat, you get a bit of bun. It makes perfect, harmonious, logical sense. The Germans say, well, fuck that. We don't need that. So their buns are about this big. Their bratwurst are this big. Why? Why do you do this? And, I mean, I solved the problem within like 3 seconds. And I showed all of them. I'm like, okay, well, this is really stupid. But we can fix this if you just shift the brat a little bit and you bend it in half, you break it in half, and then you have 2 halves in the bun, so they're both in there and they fit. And they're just like, And then they just ate it how it was. And so you have like these 2 big ends sticking out where you're just eating meat. And it's like, why do you, what? Does this not seem stupid to you? And it's normal in Germany. It's like, ugh, God. It was a good bun, and it was a good sauce. I enjoyed mine, And I'm glad that I broke mine in half and fixed it. I don't get it. And then we got, it was a German word. I don't know what it's called. But basically they took like pastry dough and they put it around like this wooden tube. They wrapped it around it, and then they baked it, so then it got all cooked. And then they took the baked thing and they covered it in oil and they like dipped it in different toppings. And then so you had basically like this hollow roll that was of cooked pastry dough that was covered in goodies. It was pretty tasty. I enjoyed it. They seem to insist entirely on paying for anything I ever eat, which apparently it's normal in Germany. And I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable with that. It's just like I don't like that. I don't like, because in America I just like everybody pays for their own shit. You know, it's just easier that way. You pay for your shit, I'll pay for my shit. If it's your birthday, okay, I'll buy you a drink or whatever. Okay. But them paying for everything I eat, like that's crazy. Like I'm such a financial burden on you just for visiting. Like you have to go out every night to dinner and you have to cook, you have to buy me everything. It's just no. So fine, I convinced him to I can buy my own dinner. So we drove another couple hours or something like that, and we went to this restaurant basically up in the mountain. It was like up in a mountain. So again, like out of the way. But this was a XXL restaurant or something like that. It was called Hanser Schnitzelkönig, I think. Something like that. Schnitzel King, pretty much. And basically they were famous in Germany, I guess, for serving gigantic food. Like you can easily purchase 2 pounds of meat if you want for your dinner. Stuff like that, just big meals. And so I wanted the burger. How much pork have I eaten? Not that much. I think I had some the first family dinner. They served schnitzel the second night. I guess bratwurst is pork. Yeah, I guess a decent amount of pork. Anyways, so I wanted a burger because I love burgers. I love trying burgers all over the place. Any kind of burger I can get. The only burger they served was the XXL burger, which is literally... I don't know if I have a comparison. I guess it's like... It was like the width... It was like the circumference of this bottle. Like this is the burger. Okay, something... It was very big. You would have to be a competitive eater to eat it yourself in one sitting. And it costs like 26 euros or something like that. And it's like, okay, that's cool. They have no smaller burgers whatsoever. That's the only burger you can get. And it's like, all right, that's nice. I mean, I'd like to get it, I guess, but I could not eat it. And I don't have a microwave in my hotel room. So it would just kind of go to waste. So I had to get schnitzel. And the schnitzel was good. I mean, they call it schnitzel. It's a breaded pork chop. That's what it is. It's a pork chop with some breading on it. You don't have to give it a fancy name. And it was good, I guess. That was more pork. I ordered 500 grams, which apparently is a pound of meat. So I only ate half of it. Their fries were really good. There's a lot of French fries in Europe. French fries is like the thing to eat in Europe. Like almost every meal will give you French fries. Yeah, almost every meal will give you French fries. It's very surprising. And they vary in quality. I think Americans have really kind of gotten French fries down. Yeah. Overall, visiting Europe makes me miss America. Visiting an inferior continent has made me miss the greatest place on earth. No, there are good things about Europe, I guess. So that was pretty much it. We had to drive an hour to get back, and apparently he loved every minute of driving. He loves it. He lives for it. And I tried to make conversation with her, but she was just so tired and just meh. And I texted her later, and I'm like, I know I'm not bothering you. I'm just telling you that it just seems like it. She's like, no, you're not bothering me, and blah blah blah. I just don't know what to say. She just doesn't know what to say to me. And it's like, that's really worrying, because it's like, what if? No, I'm absolutely gonna ask. I'm gonna have a discussion with her about it. I decided on Wednesday as like a deadline, even though that leaves an uncomfortable amount of days if it doesn't work out. But I don't want to just be like, I don't want to have it like at the airport or anything like that and be like, well, that's it, all right. I guess I'll see you. If it does work out. But yeah, I'm absolutely gonna have a discussion. Anyway, like I was saying, it worries me that she doesn't know what to say, and we don't have anything to talk about. If this is going to potentially be a serious relationship, and we already don't have anything to talk about, what does that say 30 years from now? Like, it's not that I don't have anything to talk about. I can talk about anything on God's green earth for a great amount of time because that's what I do. But she is a very quiet German person, and so it's just not in her nature to really talk that much. And so I guess I would have to get used to that, and she would have to get used to me. And I guess, yeah, maybe it could work. Especially if the language barrier went away, I think that would help. But yeah, I'm going to have a discussion, so next Hanging with Mangg, there will be things to say. But I guess that's about it. Tomorrow, we go back to Monday. She goes back to work. So we kind of just get to do the lunches and after dinner, after work stuff and things like that. And that's kind of it. Maybe there's going to be some bowling involved. Maybe some mini golf. Maybe I'll end up sitting there and playing more Assassin's Creed. I don't know. But it's, I guess, slightly unfortunate either way to hinge your entire trip on a girl that you're not sure if she's interested or not. Because it's just kind of like every minute, that I'm with her, I'm just like constantly thinking about it and analyzing it. It's like, okay, she walked away from me there instead of standing here. Does that mean anything? Okay, she looked away from me instead of looking at me. Does that mean anything? Oh, she smiled there. Does that mean? No, I don't know. It's just obnoxious. So I'd like it to be done either way. Hopefully in the positive direction. But I guess that's about it. Yeah. Hopefully when I come back next time, I can tell you guys how amazing my trip was instead of being really depressed. But life is life, and we'll see how it goes. And we've been talking for about 2 hours, so I think we're going to wrap up one of the longest Hang with Mangs of all time. I don't see her tomorrow until like 3, so I guess I get to stay up all night and party. So I'll watch Dread or something and eat pig candy. Yeah. We'll see how it all goes. At least the food is good. I'm very happy about that. So, my name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. And I'll see you fine folks next week.